Thank you for joining the stream today. Wow. Okay, let's make sure everything is in check. Audio. Testing, testing. Let's actually see what my audio sounds like. I hope everyone likes the new... Oh, wrong reading. There we go. Let's test my audio. Testing, testing, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Test the visuals. Okay. Everything seems to be working. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome here. Audio is checked. Where is my title? There it is. So title, audio, visuals, good. Evil says hi, Lemon says hello everyone! Okay, now that we have everything else that is pretty much set up, let's do a quick prayer before the live stream. Okay, we have the prayer done. Finished. God, I love you. Let's do this. Okay. Continuing with today's reading. Hi, Jono. Page 98, chapter 18. 10, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So, chapter 18. St. Chrysostom and priesthood. The settlement of disputes and need for personal tact. The settlement of disputes involves countless burdens. What we're reading today, the title should be down below, portrait screen, St. Chrysostom on priesthood, Christian literature, and the title should also be up on over there in the full screen. So continuing with the reading today. The settlement of disputes involves countless burdens and much expenditure of time, and greater discontent than ever those incur who sit to try secular cases. The difficulty is to find the justice of the case, and it is hard not to subvert it when found. Expenditure of time and discontent is not all. There is also no little danger. Before now, some of the weaker brethren have fallen into difficulties, and finding no protection have made shipwreck concerning the faith. For many of those who have suffered wrong hate those who failed to help them no less than those who inflicted it, and they will take into account neither the complicated nature of the business, nor the difficulty of appointing a suitable time, nor the limitation of ecclesiastical beautiful authority nor anything else, but of the defense only, relief from the troubles which oppress them. And he who cannot offer them this relief, however many the excuses he urges, will never have received acquittal at their hands. Now that I have mentioned patronage, come, let me reveal to you another pretext for blame. If the bishop do not every day pay a round of visits more extensive than ordinary loungers, causes of offense arise which baffle description. Hello. Not only the sick, but also the healthy wish to be visited. Not so much because of their piety prompts them, as because most of them pretend to honor and distinction. And should he ever happen to visit, one of the richer and more powerful men more frequently prompted by some special need. This chapter is chapter 18. XV111. With a view of the common welfare of the Church, immediately he wins the reputation of flattery and subservience. Why mention cases of patronage and visiting? By the way in which they address a person, they incur such a load of criticism that they are often overweighted by the burden of despondency. Why, they have to render account for the merest of glance. Most people subject their casual doings to a minute examination, measuring the loudness of their tones, the expression of their face, and the degree of their laugh. Ha ha ha! He smiled affably, says one, and so, and address him with a bright face and hearty smile, a hearty voice. But he was less pleasant with me, and indeed quite casual. If when many are seated together he does not turn his eyes in every direction while conversing, the rest say that his action is positively insulting. What man, then, who is not unusually strong, could suffice against so many accusers, so as either not to be indicted by them at all, or to escape after the indictment? He should have no accusers, or if this is impossible, he should face their charges. But if this is not easy either, as many take pleasure in vain and random accusations, he must bear the annoyance of these complaints. He who is justly charged can easily endure the charge, for since there is no accuser more bitter than his own conscience, therefore, when we are first convicted by that severe standard, we have no difficulty in bearing the greater attacks from without. But when he who has no consciousness of evil is accused— Who is calling me? Hi, Dad. I'm live streaming right now. Okay, I love you, Dad. Bye. Okay, let's continue on. I believe that we've already read this chapter, that's the thing. Have we already read this before? I believe so, but I'll continue on anyway. But when he who has no consciousness of evil is accused without cause, his anger is quickly roused, and he is a ready prey to vexation, unless he has trained himself before that to bear the annoyance of the vulgar, for it is quite impossible for one who is subject to be disturbed and unaffected. By such unreasonable conduct. Who can describe the distress they feel when it is needful to excommunicate any one from the body of the Church? What would that the danger went no further than distress? But as it is, there is no slight peril. There is reason to fear that if a man be punished beyond measure, he may undergo the experience mentioned by the blessed Paul, and be swallowed up with overmuch sorrow. There is no need in that case also for great care, that what should have been helpful may not be an occasion of greater loss, for the sins which such as one commits after such treatment are shared by the physician who treats the wound unskilfully. What punishment then must he expect when he has not only to render account for his own offences, but is also brought to the utmost peril for the sins of others? If we shudder when our own offences are examined, for fear that we shall not be able to endure that fiery ordeal, what must he expect to endure who is asked to make a defense on so many charges? I'm not reading the Bible. The Bible is next after this reading. That is at 5:30. But TikTok posted my post beforehand, before I was able to put in a caption. if we shudder when our own offences are examined, for that fear that we shall not be able to endure that fiery ordeal, what must he expect to endure who is asked to make a defence on so many charges, to learn that this is true? Here are the words of the blessed Paul, or rather not his words, but the words of Christ, who speak in him. Obey them that have the rule over you, and submit yourselves to them, for they watch on behalf of your souls as they Hold on, I feel like I read this before. Were you guys there when I finished the reading? Let me check the reading, let me check my posts. Because I made sure to post it, let me check. Lemon says, I feel that makes me like a noir detective. Okay, let me check. Bible reading, that was a Bible. Christian literature. Okay, this one's taking too long, I'm gonna just go on my downloads. That was yesterday, so today's the 3rd. Did I download the 4th? Did I do it? No, I didn't do it. So on the 3rd. Okay, where do we last leave off? This is chapter 3. What page are you? Chapter 3. Okay. So I believe this is chapter 4. I believe we're in chapter 4. 'Tis for Tigger. Thank you for the follow. I only follow Word. You are reading the KJV proper, aren't you? No, I'm not. This is Christian literature. I'm doing my Christian literature reading first. But I think I might have to switch to my Orthodox Bible study reading today, because it is not making sense what page I'm on. Because I feel like I've read this already. Chapter 3. So this is chapter 3 of what? Chapter 1. Okay. Book 4. Book 4, chapter 1. So I'm on book 4, chapter 3. Book 4, and then chapter 4, book 5, chapter 4, chapter 5, oh no, that was 6, okay, so 5, 3, chapter 3. So this is the, I'm so sorry, what time is this? Let me click my highlight button, highlight, okay. So this is where we're supposed to be starting the reading. I'm gonna screenshot this, put in a tag for today's live stream. Okay. I don't have a specific hair type style that I got. I'll just have to show you it later when I remember. So I'm gonna screenshot your question, so then I can remember to do a video about it. I'll probably forget. Okay. Let's continue with the reading today. Chapter 3. Translations of Greek Christian literature upon St. Chrysostom on priesthood. The importance of preaching. Pray, are you ignorant that the body is subject to more diseases and attacks than this flesh of ours, and is marred more quickly and cured more slowly? Those who treat the human body have devised manifold medicines, and divers kind of instruments, and forms of diet suited to the needs of the sufferer, and the character of the climate has often been sufficient by itself to restore the patient's health. There are occasions, also, when seasonable sleep has relieved the physician of all trouble, but in the present case none of these devices is of avail, but only one means, and one way of cure, has been given us after any trouble. And what is the instrument of the word? This is the best instrument, this is the best diet and climate. This serves instead of medicine, this serves instead of cautery and cutting. Whether it be needful to burn or to amputate, this one method must be used, and without it nothing else will prevail. Be used. By it we rouse the lethargy, we allay the swelling, we remove the growths, and make good the defects of the soul, and in short, we do everything which tends to promote its health. To help a man to order his life aright, it is true that the life of another may excite him to emulation, but when the soul is suffering under superioritious doctrines, then there is great need for the word. I feel like my voice is echoing. Doctrines, then there's a great need of the word, not only for the safety of those within the fold, but also to meet the attacks of foes without. For if a man should have the word of the Spirit and the shield of faith so powerful as to be able to work marvels, and by his mighty deeds to stop the mouths of the shameless, he would have no need of the help of the word, or rather I should say, that even then the word would not be useless, but very necessary. The blessed Paul used it, although he roused wonder on every side by the signs he wrought. And another of that company bids us to take heed of this power, saying, Be ready to give answer to every man that asketh you a reason concerning the hope that is in you. And further, with one accord, they entrusted Stephen and his company with the charge of the widows, for no reason save that they might devote themselves to the ministry of the word. Howbeit, we should not seek this so eagerly if we had the power of working miracles. But if there is not so much as a trace of that power left, while many enemies are continually assailing us on every side, it remains for us to support ourselves by this defense, that we be not overwhelmed by the shafts of the enemy, but that we may overthrow them. Chapter 4. The need to refute heresayers. Wherefore we must show great zeal that the word of Christ may dwell richly in us. Our preparations for battle is not against a single attack. This warfare assumes manifold forms and is composed of divers enemies. For all do not use the same arms, nor have they trained themselves to attack us in one manner. And he who is undertaking to engage in warfare at all must know the arts of all. He must be at the same time an archer and slinger, cavalry and officer, an infantry officer, private soldier and general, foot soldier and horse soldier, marine and engineer. In ordinary battles, each man takes the work assigned to him, and so repels the attacks of the enemy. In our warfare, this is not so. But unless he is to win the victory, understands all the forms of the art, the devil knows how to introduce his own agents at each spot which is neglected. I am reading a Greek translation of Christian literature upon St. Chrysostomon's priesthood. We're in chapter 3. We're on book 3, chapter 4. There we go. All forms they are, and the devil knows how to introduce his own agents at each spot which is neglected, and to plunder the sheep, but he is baffled when he sees the shepherd well equipped with knowledge and able to meet his plots. Wherefore we must arm ourselves at every point. So long as a city is encircled with walls all around, it laughs at its besiegers to scorn and remains in perfect safety. But if a breach be made in the wall no larger than a gate, the rest of the circuit is useless. Although the whole of it stands safe, so it is with the city of God. So long as the wit and the wisdom of the shepherd encompasses it like a wall on every side, all the ridicule, and they who dwell within, remain unharmed. But when one of them is able to destroy a part of this defense, though the rest stand never so firm, well nigh the whole city is ruined through that portion. But what if the Jews spoil the church while it is contending with success against the Greeks? Or if it prevail against both of these, but is plundered by them? We will be looking up what this means. What is this word? Manicheans. Manicheans. Okay, cool. Prevail or plundered by the Manicheans, or if after it has overcome these also, they who bring destiny within its fold make havoc of the sheep. Why need I enumerate the hearsayers of the devil? Unless the shepherd has skill enough to banish them all, the wolf can enter by any one of them and devour most of the sheep. In ordinary warfare, we must expect the victory to be won or the defeat to be sustained by those who stand and fight. But in our case, it is far different. Often the battle against others secure victory for men who neither engaged in conflict at all nor endured its toil, while they are actually sitting idle, and he who is inexperienced in these matters falls on his own sword and excites the ridicule among his friends and foes alike. Thank you, Mac Wolferson, for the follow. I will try to make my meaning clear to you by an example. Those who followed the wild teaching of Valentinus, actually let's see if we can pronounce this correctly. Valentinus. Valentinus, and Marcion, and all who share in the disease, subject the law given by God to Moses from the sacred cow. Hold on, I'm trying to turn down my audio. Sacred canon. But the Jews hold it in such esteem that they are anxious to keep it all, though the time forbids it and God wills it not. But the Church of God, avoiding either extreme steers a middle course, and either allows himself to be subjected to its yoke, nor allows men to revile it, but commends it, although its time is past. Hold on. This is one of the top members in team. Show your appreciation and support. I will have to read this later. Confirm. Thank you, Snowbird, for the heart me. Serviceable first season. He then who will oppose both these parties must understand this harmony. If in his desire to teach the Jews that they are out of date and clinging to their ancient legislation, he should begin unsparingly to revile it, he gives no slight handle to those heretics who wish to destroy it. But if, in his eagerness to stop their lips, he extol the law and exalt it, as though it were necessary at the present season, he unseals the mouths of the Jews. Again, they who share in the madness of Sabellius. So, must share in the madness of Sabellius, and the ravings of Arius. In both cases have fallen away from the sound faith by departing from the mean course. Each of these parties claims the name of Christian, but should anyone examine their doctrines, he would find the former no better than Jews, except in so far as they differ in name, while the latter have a great affinity to the heresy of Paul of Samosata, and that they both err widely. Err means wander from the truth. There is then great danger in such cases, and straight and narrow is the way, with abrupt precipice on both sides, and there's no slight risk lest, while wishing to aim a blow at the one, we should be smitten by the other. If a man say that the Godhead is one, forthwith Sabellius. Sabellius Forthwith Sabellius distorts the expression to favor his own madness. If again he distinguish the Godhead, saying that the Father is one, the Son another, and the Holy Ghost a third, out gets Arius, preventing the distinction of persons into a difference of substance. We should avoid and shun the impious confusion of persons of the one, and the mad division of the substance by the other, and confess indeed that the Godhead of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit are one, but add the three essences, for by this means we shall be able to defend ourselves from the attacks of both. I might have told you of many other conflicts which will cost him who does not enter them with spirit and care, scars innumerable. So Sabellius Sabellius confounded the persons of the Holy Trinity, making the three persons merely different aspects of the one God. Arius, on the one hand, divided the substance, making the Son distinct from the inferior to the Father. This reference to the mean course may be a remnant of Aristotle's definition of the virtue as the mean state between two opposite vices, Ethics 2:7. The same argument has often been used to explain the position of the Church of England in reference to Romanism and Protestantism. Paul and Samosata, Bishop of Anatolia, about 260 AD, denied the Godhead of Jesus Christ but believed that he progressed towards divinity while on earth. That is beautiful. Chapter 5. The need to check idle speculation. Why need I mention the contentions of our own people? These contentions are not fewer than the attacks from without, while they cause the teacher even greater trouble. Some are so officious that they try, idly and senselessly, to elaborate doctrines which cannot be understood, or, if understood, cannot profit them. Others again demand of God reasons for his judgments, and struggle to measure the deep great. For, says the psalmist, thy judgments are a great deep. You will find few eager on matters of faith and practice, whereas most are idly inquiring into matters which cannot be discovered, and whose very quest kindles God's anger. For when we struggle to learn things which he himself did not will that we should know, we shall never succeed. How can we, if God wills it not, and shall reap nothing save the danger by our own quest, our quest? How be it, though, that this be so? When we use our authority to close the mouth of those who seek to answer these riddles, we gain credit for arrogance and ignorance, wherefore the bishop needs great tact to dissuade men from unprofitable questionings, and to escape the faults I have described. In dealing with all these matters, no help has been vouchsafed, save the help of the word, and if one be deprived of this power, the souls of those under him, I referred to the weak and more curious among the brethren, will be no better plight than ships tossed by the sea. Wherefore the bishop should do everything to gain this power. Chapter 6. Hold on, can I get a tissue? St. Paul did not underrate the value of preaching. Basil. Why then was Paul not eager to attain perfection in this quality? He is not ashamed of his poverty of speech, but expressly confesses that he is rude in it. And he says this in writing to the Corinthians, who were admired for the eloquence and prided themselves upon it. Chrysostom. This is the very excuse that has ruined most men, and made them less zealous for the true doctrine. Being unable to examine with care the depth of the mind of an apostle, or to understand the meaning of his words, they continued forever nodding and yawning, and holding in high esteem not the form of ignorance, which Paul admitted, but a form from which no man beneath this heaven was ever so notably free. Howbeit, let us concede this point for a moment. In the meantime, I say this, let us assume that he was rude in this quality, as they ever. What has that to do with us? He had a greater power than speech, a power which was able to effect greater results, for by his mere presence and without a word the devils feared him. But if men of today should all assemble, they could not with numberless prayers and tears do as much as was effected once by the handkerchief of Paul. And Paul by his prayers was wont to raise the dead and work of other such miracles, so that he was regarded as a god by the heathen. And before he departed from this life, he thought worthy to be caught up to the third heaven, and to share in unspeakable words, which it is not lawful for human ears to hear. But as for the men of today, and I wish to say nothing unkind or severe, for indeed I am not speaking by way of reproach, but only in surprise, how can they refrain from shuddering when they compare themselves with so great a man? For if we put miracles aside and approach the life of the saint and examine his angelic conversation, in this more than in his miracles, we shall see the Christian athlete a conqueror. Why need I mention his zeal, his forbearance, his continual perils, his constant cares, his unceasing anxieties for the churches, his many tribulations, his unwonted persecutions, his deaths daily. What place in the world, what continent, what sea did not witness the conflicts of that righteous man? Even the desert saw him, and sheltered him often when he was in peril. He endured every form of intrigue. He attained every kind of victory. His contests and his crowns never failed. Howbeit, unknown to myself, I have been impelled to injure him. His success surpass all eloquence, and they exceed mine, just as practised orators exceed me. Yet, since that blessed saint will judge me, and not from my results, but from my intentions, I will not desist until I have stated one fact which surpasses what I have said, as much as he surpasses all men. What then is this? After all these successes, after his innumerable crowns, he prayed that he might be cast into hell, and be submitted to eternal punishment, if so be that the Jews who had often stoned him and done what they could to encompass his death might be saved and come near to Christ. Who longed for Christ as he did? If indeed we may call this feeling longing, and not by some name yet stronger, shall we then continue to compare ourselves with him after the great grace which he received from above, and after the great virtue which he displayed in himself? What action could be more presumptuous than this? I will not try to prove also that, despite all this, he was not rude of speech, as these men think of him, for they do not apply the title merely to one who is unversed in profane rhetoric, but also to one who does not understand how to contend for the doctrines of the faith. And they are right. But Paul did not say that. He was rude in both these qualities, not in the former alone, and to establish this fact he carefully made the distinction by saying that he was rude in speech, but not in knowledge. But as for me, if I demanded the polish of Isocrates and the grandeur of Demosthenes, this is where we look it up. Demosthenes, grandeur of Demosthenes, and the dignity of. I will be reading comments at the end of today's reading. Please wait for me until then. Thucydides, Demosthenes, and the dignity of Thucydides, and the sublimity of Plato. Then it would be right to confront me with this testimony of Paul, but as it is, I let this quality pass. And the superfluous embellishments of pagan writers, I take no account of style or expression. Yeah, let a man's style be poor and his diction simple and unadorned, but let him not be rude in the knowledge and careful statement of doctrine, nor to cloak his own idleness. Let him deprive that blessed man of the greatest of his qualities and the chief of his claims to eulogy. Chapter 7. Instances of St. Paul's eloquence. I will end today's reading here prematurely, or you know what, I'll just answer questions. The device has been added to audio. Try turning off audio monitoring or plugging. Okay. There. I'll be reading comments for about 5 minutes, and then I'll go straight back to reading. Let's see what I have missed. Evil says hi, Lemon says hello everyone. Jonah says, what are we reading today? A continuation of St. Chrysostom on priesthood. Book 3, chapters 3 to 6 so far. Unbeatable Zombie says hi, hello. Marmar says, what chapter is this? This is currently we were reading chapters 3, 4, 5. Now we are in chapter 7. Jonah says, I wish we could bring back the 1940s clothing style back. Right? You can still do so. It's just more expensive, though. Lemon says to Jonah, personally, no, 80s and up. Jonah says, why not? It's cool. 80s is cool. Lemon says to Jonah, don't get me wrong. It looks nice, but it's such like, meh. Jonah says to Lemon, looks and quality matter. Looks and quality matter. OG says, hey, hi. Mama, appreciate your follow. Lemon says to Jono, it's necessarily just because people dress nice. Doesn't mean that they're all of a sudden adequate. Lemon says not to Asterisk. Jono says, true, but I truly think we should bring that back. Phoebe says, are you reading the Bible? Not quite yet. We'll be reading the Bible at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Jono says to Lemon, like, I've always wanted to wear a nice classic black suit. Make sure it's fitted. Lemon says to Jono, and I respect that. Agree to disagree. We all have our preferences for what styles we prefer. I only follow word. Thank you for the follow. Lemon says to Jono, I feel that, but it makes me feel like a noir detective. Unbeatable Zombie says, I wish. I only follow. Says, God bless. How do you feel about Revelations 3:9? I'll need to look it up in my Bible. My Bible's over there. So uno momento. Lemon says, I did. You did 2 days ago. Unbeatable Zombie says, which one is this? This one is upon the Greek translation of Christian literature upon St. Chrysostom on priesthood. Lemon says, think Asterisk. Jono says to Lemon, or some old 1940s, 1930s gangster. Tiger says, wild TikTok squirrel, but I must stay. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate you so much for the follow. I only follow says, are you reading KJV? Papa, aren't you? No. Jono says, question, what is a haircut or hairstyle called? I do not really know. I had an undercut, and last time I cut my hair, I told my stylist to go wild, and they did. And this is what it grew out to be. I need to get my hair cut again. Jono says, it looks lovely. Unbeatable Zombie says, I was wondering too. Jono says, it's dandy. Unbeatable Zombie says, huh? Jono says, dandy means nice. Old English. Lemon says, no. Mac Wolver's son says, hi. Hi. Jono says, your haircut reminds me of what some 1960s woman did with their hair. Or late 1950s. Amun Bacon says, Thursday Bible study day. What are you reading? Christian literature upon St. Chrysostom on priesthood. Jono says, Christian literature. Mac Wolverson says, listening voice is intoxicating while reading. Jono says to Mac Wolverson, she does have a nice voice. Mac Wolverson, appreciate your follow. Tisfitiga says, around the time when the Roman Civil War with Aurelian was happening, Snow says, sup homies. Lemon says, please behave. Lemon says, yo. Raph says, huh? Jono says, bro, stupid chat is not working. Greek says, have you read the Bible? Yes. Gra says, is this Bible live or questions? I'm Christian literature. Michael Wolfson says, lost me, just enjoying a good read. Wish more of this was on the platform. Jono says, she's reading Christian literature. I'm trying to read faster because there's only 1 minute left and 12 seconds. Greek says, nah, this ain't the Bible. Gra so, okay. Greek says, she's not even saying anything. This guy's rude. Jono says, is it me, or do I hardly see real love in this generation? It's not that you're not seeing real love, it's just that we are without the love of God. We are not pertaining to the love that God gives us. Because God is love. So we learn what love is, the love that God gives us. If you do not see the love, there's only 46 seconds left. I will not explain. I will explain afterwards. Here, let me... Boop. Come on. Screwdriver. 36 seconds. Let's see if I got this. Kohaku says, dang, that's rough anyways. Mac says, English is my favorite subject in college. Jono says, I narrate. Mac Wolverson says, Gen Z are a different breed. Their understanding is upside down. Kohaku, so we can discuss this. Kohaku says to Jono, interesting alt account. Jono says to Kohaku, it's not an alt. Kohaku says to Jono, how much is it willing to bet on that? Jono says to Kohaku, oh, we're doing that now. How the what if you would tell if it's an alt account? Amun Bacon says, how the what, Jono? Hi, Journey! Jono says, LBRB. Mac Wolverson says, shush, regardless of it, when you ban out, knowing is easy. Amun Bacon says, how did you find this book? I have a reading. Oh, well, that is all the time that we have today. So I'll be turning my countdown off and I'll be reading the comments again after, at the end of today's reading. So continuation of chapter 7, Instances of St. Paul's Eloquence. Tell me, how did he confound the Jews dwelling in Damascus when he had not yet begun his miracles? How did he overthrow the Grecians? Let's just make sure we're pronouncing these right. Grecians. Overthrow the Grecians. Why, he was sent forth to Tarsus. He was sent forth to Tarsus, was it not because he mightily prevailed in the word, and so far discomfited them, that they were incited to slay him, not being able to bear the defeat? Then he had not yet begun his wonderful works, and no one could say that the multitudes marveled at him because of his reputation for mighty works, and that those who contended against him were overthrown by his fame alone. For at this time he prevailed merely by dint of speech. How did he contend and dispute with those who tried to teach Jewish customs in Antioch? Did not the Areopagite, who was the most religious city, with his wife, follow him because of his speech alone? And how came Areopagite and Eutychus? And how come Eutychus to fall from the window? Was it not because he was attending until midnight to Paul's teachings? And what occurred at Thessalonica or Corinth? What at Ephesus, and at Rome itself? Did he not spend whole days and nights continuously in expounding the scriptures? Why should we mention his disputes with the Epicureans and Stoics? For if I should tell all my story, actually, let's just make sure we're pronouncing this right, because I'm pretty sure all of you are going to mispronounce everything if I mispronounce it myself. Epicureans and Stoics, for if I should tell all, my story would grow to an excessive length. When then, both before the working miracles and while he performed them, he appears to have made much use of argument. How can anyone dare to call him rude of speech, whose disputions and sermons were much admired of all? Why did the Lycaonians believe him to be Hermes? The idea that he and Barnabas were gods was due to their miracles, but the idea that he was Hermes was due not to his miracles, but to his eloquence. And what did this blessed saint excel the rest of the apostles, and how come it that throughout the whole world he is much on everyone's lips? How come it that not merely among ourselves, but also among Jews and Greeks, he is admired beyond all men? Is it not because of the excellence of his epistles? For by this not only among the faithful of his day, but among those who shall believe until the coming of Christ, he has been and will be a source of profit, and will never cease to be such so long as the human race remains. For his writings fortify the churches all over the world like a wall of adamant, and somewhat noble champion, he stands even now in our midst, leading captive every thought unto the obedience of Christ, and casting down reasonings and every high thing which exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And all this he does by means of those wonderful epistles he has left us, so full of divine wisdom. His writings are not only useful for us for the overthrow of the false doctrine and the establishing of the true, but they help us very greatly in living a good life. For by the use of these bishops of the present-day fashion frame the chaste virgin which Paul himself betrothed to Christ, and led her on to spiritual beauty. By these they repel also the diseases which threaten her, and preserve the good health she thus obtains. Such are the medicines, and so powerful their efficacy, left us by him who is rude of speech, and they know their powers best who use them constantly. It is clear from this that he devoted much diligence to this study. Chapter 8. St. Paul's advice to Timothy on preaching. I'll be reading this tomorrow, so this is the end for today's reading. Let's get ready for the Bible study reading we're going to be doing next. Snuva, Big E, thank you so much for the heart maze. Now let's continue where we last left off in the comment section. I believe it wouldn't be too far. So how did I find this book? I'm in a Bible study group, in Orthodox Bible study group reading, and they have all these links. This is one of the things that we're reading together. Nemo says, keep spreading the word, sis. This is Christian literature. I'll be reading the Bible next. Lemon says to Nemo, yeah. Jonah says, your hair is nice. I'm eating Thai food. Mac Orverson says, Thai food has been a min since I had some. Jono says, "Oh, real." Hi, Kurt. Kurt, thank you for using my stickers. Michael Wolverson says, What I do, miss always, eating in Tel Aviv. Everything was fresh to eat. Jono says to Mac Wolverson, Is that in Thailand? Mac Wolverson says to Jono, Jono says to Mac Wolverson, Oh, cool. Okay, so let's go back to the thing that we were going to be answering earlier, which is my hairstyle. I don't know what my hairstyle is called, and also this generation of love. So love has been something that has been a difficulty in every generation. It's not just our own, and it's not just someone's prior. It's through every generation that we have known in humanity. Love without God. You do not truly know love if you do not know our God. I say this because I've spent my whole life trying to understand the differences between love, infatuation, obsession, other forms of it, like affection. What differentiates between affection, intimacy, emotional connection? What are the distinctions and the differences that are significant, that they call for different usages of the word? You cannot be obsessed with someone and in love, because obsession and infatuation requires a physical stimulation. You require this person to be pedestalized in your mind, to be something greater, a fantasy, an illusion. And once you realize they are not the fantasy that you admire, but rather a real human being with complex flaws and limitations, you realize that you cannot continue being obsessed with someone who is not what you idealize. It is idolatry. Lemon says, it's hookup culture, really. People like the idea of love, but is not willing to go through the trials and tribulations. No. What this version of love is revealing, because we have now a platform. In this generation, we have a platform which was not yet discussed in prior generations. It's not that this generation is hookup culture, it's that we now all have a platform to broadcast the sins of this world that was not revealed in commonplace. It was not at mass, at large. It's not broadcasted to the entire world. It's not so much that hookup culture started to exist, it's that hookup culture is now broadcasted. Hooking up with people was something that even our grandparents did. Many people of the past, prostitutes existed for a reason. Hookup culture has always been a part of each generation. It's just that our generations now have a broadcast on it. We now have everything amplified. And Moon Bacon says everything gets amplified on the internet. Exactly. It's not that it now started to exist, it's just that now it has a platform to be broadcasted on. Hookup culture always existed. Lust has always existed. What has not stopped existing is love. What has been more broadcasted is how to love and what is not love. It's not that you're willing to go through the trials and tribulations of relationships, it's just that you are now being held accountable for the actions that you cause onto another person that is harmful. Your actions are also being broadcasted just as much as lust is. You are not the trial and tribulation. You are not causing the other person suffering, and they are meant to endure that, tolerate you, and stay. No, you are meant to be held accountable for the hurtful things that you do. Until you learn how to love, you cannot be in a healthy relationship. Until you learn what love is from our God, you will not know how to keep it. You will not know how to maintain it. We are meant to go through these mistakes. We are meant to develop and grow. Yes, love can be a process. It can be a journey, but it is not meant to hurt you. It is not meant to be abusive. Love is beyond. I can go on about this, but I'm trying to generalize it so much so. So I'm going to just speak on what I do know. Love itself is loving. That is the whole basis of it. This is me speaking outside of my own superficial cool person facade. Love itself is supposed to be loving. That is the core of love. Love itself is not tolerating someone who is abusing you. Abuse is not love. What is that thing that people call? Tough love does not exist. Tough love is not real. Tough love is not love. Tough love is a manipulation tactic that your abuser says is love for you to tolerate the abuse that you are enduring. Tough love is not real. Tough love is manipulation. If you love someone, you consider them. When you love someone, you take accountability for the pain you causing to the other person, regardless of your intention in the first place. Accountability is loving. When someone holds you accountable, they are helping you grow. To be held accountable, to hold others accountable, is love, because without it, you will not grow. You do not tolerate the pain someone gives you. You hold them accountable to the pain that they caused. How they hold themselves accountable, how they acknowledge the pain that they cause, that's up to them alone. That is their responsibility, not your job to fix. Hold on, let me read the comments. Emu Bacon says, I haven't considered reading Christian literature before. Do you find it important? I find that reading itself is important, and reading our history is super important. I believe reading is not even necessary. I believe reading, not even believe, I know reading is one of the most important skills we have. Critical thinking is one of the most important skills to develop. Because you can think, but can you compound? Can you critically think upon the things that you are given? Can someone give you information? And can you think outside of it and create your own opinion? Can you reference off of multiple perspectives, come up with your own, and consider them all, and which is objectively true and which is objectively false? When you can tell when something is false by its contradictions, by its hypocrisy. Something that is true does not take the truth and obscure it. It is not used for your own personal agenda. The truth is objective outside of what is relative. But it is referenceable. It is relatable. You can put this to something that is actually, what's the word? What's it called? When you... The truth itself can be used as a tool, but how you use the tool is dependent on intention. So how you know if you have the true intentions is how you hold yourself accountable to the impact of your intentions, to the impact of your choices. Choice or not, that is still a choice. I had to think about that for a second. Like, how can I say this in a way that is not going to be obscured and misinterpreted? But even if it does get misinterpreted, how can I hold it true? So then, even when it's misinterpreted, its point still stands. I need to drink water. My voice is dying. Jonah says true. It's like nobody knows how to love. People do know how to love themselves. A lot of people know what it's like to be loved. A lot of people want to be loved. And as much as the person says they have never known love, trust me, I was one. As much as a person says they do not know what love is and they've never been loved before, you still crave it. Innately, you still know. What is much more difficult is to love someone outside of yourself, not in the way that you want, but in the way that the other person needs. To love someone, I love you, requires you to understand that you are loving them, not them loving you. You do not love someone based on how they love you. You love someone based on how they need to be. Not what you think is convenient for you, what you want to give, but based on what they need from you, based on what they need. You need to look outside of yourself in order to truly to truly take accountability for saying the words, I love you. You are loving them, not them loving you. You cannot love them if you do not know them. You cannot love them if you do not know what they need. It is not love unless you know. It is not love if it's not considered of what is considered of them. I can go on and on about this. I studied this for like a year. But that's only like a year. That's only a year. I know people who have been doing this for like about 2 decades. And there's centuries upon centuries of work upon this. Love is just something that humans have always been so insatiably curious about, wanting to find a definitive answer. But that's the thing, that's hard, because you have to consider so much of what people think is love and so much of what is not. And to be the moral arbiter in these kind of conversations, you kind of have to step on people's toes and be willing to accept the confrontations of people saying, like, well, you know what, I have this experience and this, and this. A generalization of what love is can only be so specific, because a generalization is just generalized for a reason. To be so specific, it's difficult to apply to every single individual's life. Lemon says, that's why I mean by trials and tribulations, being held accountable, communication, etc. Tell me more. Help me understand you. Moon Bacon says, intentions don't define the morality of your deeds. Exactly. If you have good intentions, align that with your actions. If you truly mean to be this, then acknowledge and take responsibility when it does not align. Recognize it, correct it, discipline yourself, and learn. That is how you will grow. But I'm sure you guys already know this yourselves. Jono says, I hope one day I can go to church and find someone who truly loves God first and loves me truly. How about instead of finding someone, you do what God wants you to do, which is let God prepare you. Pray not for your partner, not just for your partner, for your kingdom spouse. Do not just pray for your kingdom spouse, Jono. Pray for yourself. Pray to God, God, prepare me for my kingdom spouse. Ask God to prepare you, not to bring them to you. Prepare you, so that on your journey, as God is preparing you, you will find them. Boaz didn't find Ruth because he was searching for a wife. Boaz was just working in the field and he saw Ruth. He found her through his purpose of what he was called to do. Lemon says to Jono, it'll happen, but instead of finding them, they might find you. No. From what I understood about the Bible so far, women aren't meant to find their Boaz. Women aren't meant to go finding you. They're actually meant to be hidden. They're protected and hidden by God to be kept safe and secure. Lemon says, but don't let that main focus, if that makes sense. Lemon says, okay. But don't let it be the main focus, if that makes sense. Jono says to Lemon, maybe. Okani says, whee! Lemon says, keep it 100. Kohaku says, hydration is key. Yeah, I should get water. And Moon Bacon says, lol, I always get afraid of people misunderstanding me. It's something that you can't really control. Plus, there are some people in this world that you will have to understand. They are intentional with misunderstanding you. They're trying to misinterpret you. They're willfully trying to misguide you, to misinterpret you, because it benefits them to do so, because they truly just do not like you. And that's not something you can control. Unfortunate, I know. But stay true to who you are. Do not let them get the best of you. Do not let them get a rise out of you. You know who you are. The only opinion that matters is God's. Why would you care for the opinion of those from the world that crucified our Messiah? Why would you care for the opinion of this world that crucified Jesus Christ, the only perfect person to exist? The opinion of this world truly does not matter. The opinion of God, that is what I trust in. Because not only will God judge you, but God will prepare you and do good for you. God will help you to do better, to do good, to be good unto others as well as ourselves, to do good for God, to be good to God. As long as you're willing to learn, God is willing to teach. Kohaku says, I love myself and I think that's enough. That's wrong. I said something wrong. It's not that as long as you're willing to learn, God is willing to teach. No. As long as you're willing to learn, God is waiting to teach. There we go. God will be patient for you to be ready, for you to accept, for you to invite God in. There we go. Kohaku says, I love myself and I think that's enough. I don't know. For now at least. Emma Bacon says, consistency is key. Lemon says to Kohaku, to be honest, there's nothing wrong with that. Jonah says, facts. Lemon says, you shouldn't love yourself first before loving someone else. I would agree with this. Jono says to Lemon, true, because you cannot love if you do not know what your love feels like. How do you know what you are doing is loving if you do not know what that feels like to yourself? You need to refine the love you have. You need to refine it through knowing what it feels like. Are you truly a loving person? Or are you forcing your ideals, your fantasies of what you think love is without truly applying yourself first? Or without getting the reviews first? Love itself is a skill that you learn how to develop over time. Have you refined the way how you loved someone? Or are you just applying a fantasy in which you built inside your mind? Lemon says, I wish I could, but it's so much. TikTok won't let me type it all. Yeah, this is why I need to stream on Twitch. Jono says, true. Lemon says, like, I love talking, ranting about this topic. Aww. Amun Bacon says, if you do it without God, it probably won't work. It takes 2 to make a relationship, and it takes 3 to make it work. The third is God. Oh, no, yeah, the third is God. God will make it last, because God is eternal. All things in this world will not last, but God is eternal, so it will if you rely on God. If you center it on God, there we go. Jono says, so I would have to find and seek a partner. It's not that you have to seek a partner. It's more so that pray to God to be prepared for your kingdom spouse and for the trials that will come, so that when they do, when you have your partner, when you are with your kingdom spouse, you know how to handle what is meant to come. God has already prepared you with what is needed to know, and with the lessons that you learned before meeting them, you won't mess it up, because you have God. And when you are lost, seek on God's understanding, not on your own, but with God. Jono says, oh. Lemon says, let me know when you stream on Twitch to get a full breakdown, or even like a duo live stream. I could do a duo live stream right now. Sniffles NB says, is that a helicopter or a stomach growl, lol? That is a helicopter. Whoop whoop. For those who know, you know. Okay, now let's get started on today's Bible reading. I'm going to end the live stream here, and then start the Bible reading. Lemon says, right, always pray for your relationships. God will take them out if they are not meant to be. God, not even just like if they're not meant to be, but God will also separate you from your kingdom spouse if you idolize your relationships. If that relationship draws you away from God, God will separate you too for a time of being, and then God will bring you back together. But you both must grow first, and if you want it to last, you must center it on God. Because if you do not, you are bound to fail to the sins of this world. Dun, 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 dun. I am tired, and I need to get ready for the next stream. Lemon says, we can do it after your Bible reading or whenever you want. Yeah, I'll be doing it after the Bible reading, because the Bible reading should be finished around 6. Lemon says, yeah. Okay, let's get started. The sooner we start, the longer we can go with the Bible reading. Kahaku says, good night. Lemon says, see y'all. The Bible reading. Amun says, peak holy sesh. Thank you. Yeah. With that, God bless you all, and I'll see you when I see you.